Here's a number that stopped me cold when I first read it. In most historical scenario, a retiree who starts with $1 million and withdraws 4% a year, they don't survive. They end retirement with 5 times what they started with. 5 times, that's $5 million. Now, here's what makes that even crazier. Most retirees, they don't believe it. So they hold back. They spend less than they could. They stay anxious and they leave money on the table that they worked their entire lives to enjoy. Today, we're going to look at the hidden math behind retirement portfolios, why they actually grow instead of shrink, why the $1 million benchmark is mostly a myth, and what your actual number probably looks like. My name is Rip. Welcome back to Rip Talks Money. As always, help me grow the channel by hitting that thumbs up button and sharing it with a friend. So let's get into it. Let's start with something that surprises almost everyone. The 4% rule. Now, you probably heard of it. The idea is that you withdraw 4% of your portfolio per year in retirement, and that your money should last at least 30 years. That's the rule. That's what it promises. But here's what the research actually found. When they ran the simulations across decades of real market history, financial planner Michael Kitces, he studied this extensively. And he found out that retirees withdrawing at 4% were far more likely to end retirement with 5 times their starting balance than they were to run out of money. Everyone's biggest fear. Not twice, not 3 times, 5 times. And Bill Bennigan, the researcher who actually created the 4% rule back in 1994, he has said that over 90% of retirees who use it, they end up with more money than they started with. Why? It's simple. The 4% rule was designed for the absolute worst case scenario. It was built to survive the Great Depression, to survive the stagflation of the 70s. So if you retire into just average conditions or even just okay conditions, the built-in safety buffer, it is absolutely enormous. Your portfolio keeps growing as you're spending from it. That's the hidden math. And most people think that they're drawing down a bucket of water. Well, in most historical cases, the bucket keeps refilling faster than they can pour. Now let's talk about what this actually means for your planning. The median net worth for Americans aged 65 to 74, it's around $410,000. Not a million, less than half of that. And yet millions of people retire comfortably every single year. You're probably asking how? Because retirement income isn't just one bucket. It's layers. Layer one, Social Security. The average monthly benefit right now, it's about $2,000 per person. Now for a couple, that's $4,000 a month or $48,000 a year before you even touch a single dollar of savings. Guaranteed, inflation adjusted, and it shows up no matter what the market does. Now, compare that to what the average household age 65 to 74 actually spends. Roughly about $61,000 a year. Now, do the math for me. 61,000 minus 48,000 in Social Security for a couple, you got a gap about 13,000 per year. Now, to cover that at a 5% withdrawal rate, you'll need around $256,000 in savings. Not a million, not even close to a million, about a quarter of it. A single retiree faces a bigger gap, maybe $37,000 a year after their Social Security. At 5%, that's roughly $740,000. Still under $1 million for a single person living alone. Even a couple who is spending generously, $75,000 a year. You got some travel thrown in there, you're helping the grandkids. With two Social Securities checks, their gap is only about 27,000. That needs roughly about 540,000 in savings to cover. The pattern's consistent here. Most real retirement scenarios, they don't require $1 million. The magic number is a headline. Your actual number, it is specific to your life. And now here's something interesting that researchers call the consumption gap. It's the difference between what retirees could spend and what they actually do spend. And it turns out that most retirees, they constantly spend less than their plan allowed. Not because they couldn't afford more, but because their desire to spend, it just naturally declines. Now the data is pretty clear here. Spending peaks for households around 65 to 74. Then it drops significantly for those that are 75 and older, from roughly about 61,000 a year all the way down to about 53,500. Yes, health costs can definitely rise, but spending on travel, entertainment, dining out, and basically everything else, it tends to fall even more. And this isn't just statistics here. Go look at the comments on any other retirement video that you've seen or that you watched in the past, right? The people who are approaching retirement, they're worried about their spending, that it will stay the same or even increase. But the people who are actually 10 or 15 years into retirement, they almost universally say the same thing. They do not spend as much as they thought they would. Their life just got simpler. So the model that most people used to plan, flat spending for 30 years, it's actually conservative. Real spending, it curves downward, which means that your savings, they do even more work than the math suggested to begin with. Now, here's the uncomfortable flip side of all this. JP Morgan, they looked at actual withdrawal behavior among retirees, and they found something striking. The most common withdrawal rate isn't 4%. It's actually only 2%. Half of what most people consider the safe number, which means that most retirees are being significantly more conservative than they actually need to be. They're holding back. They're living tighter than their portfolio actually requires. Why? 3 reasons, and they're all psychological. First, your habits. If you spent 30 or 40 years savings, switching to spending mode can feel almost physically wrong. The identity of being a saver, it just doesn't disappear when you retire. Second, loss aversion. Whether you're watching your portfolio drop after a withdrawal, even a totally sustainable one, it can still feel like you're losing money, even when the math says that you are completely fine. And third, uncertainty, longevity risk, healthcare cost, market volatility. When you don't know exactly how long you're going to live or what life will throw at you, the safest feeling, it's always to hold back. These are real, human, understandable responses, but they all carry a cost. The cost of experience, delayed or skipped. The cost of freedom you earned, but you didn't use. For some retirees out there, overly conservative spending is the actual retirement risk. Not running out of money, but not fully living while you had the chance. So what do you actually do with all this? Well, first, start with expenses. Not what you think you'll spend, not a round number, actually go and write it down. What does your life cost right now today? What do you expect to change in retirement? Because most people, they find it's lower than they assumed. Then list your income sources, Social Securities. Have you looked up your actual estimated benefit? I mean, you can do that right now, SSA.gov. Any pension? You got rental income coming in? How about part-time work that you might do? Add it all up. And in the gap, it's just your expenses minus your guaranteed income. That is the actual number your portfolio has to cover. That's it. That's simple. That will be your target. And then you need to apply a withdrawal rate that you're comfortable with here. The research says 4% is extremely conservative historically. Some people feel better at 3.5 or even 3%. That's fine. It's your life and it's your comfort level. But at least you know the number that you're starting from, the real number, right? Not just a myth, not just some headline that you read out there. And here's the thing about Social Security specifically. For many households, it covers 40% or even more of what they need. Some two-income couples with strong earning histories, they find that Social Security alone covers all of their basic expenses. And their savings, it just sits there and it just keeps on growing. They could technically be living on Social Security for 90% of their income while sitting on several $1,000,000 untouched. And they be counted as dependent on Social Security. The statistic here, it is real. But the story it tells is misleading. The system is built in layers. When you add those layers up for your specific situation, the picture is almost always more secure than the headlines suggest. And here's the thing I want to leave you with. The goal of saving for retirement was never to die with the biggest possible number. The goal was freedom, time, options, the ability to live the life you wanted when you no longer had to trade hours for money. If you've done the work, if you built the savings, if you know your actual number and your plan is sound, give yourself permission to spend. Now, that doesn't mean being reckless. It means trusting the math that you took decades to build. It means recognizing that a retirement where you're consistently anxious about money, even when the numbers say that you are completely fine, that is not the retirement you worked for. The hidden math, it's on your side. And most people who plan carefully, they end up with more than enough. The only risk is never letting yourself believe it. So there it is. The $1,000,000 myth, everyone. The hidden math behind the 4% rule. And why your actual retirement number is almost certainly smaller and more manageable than you've been led to believe. Now, if this video changed how you're thinking about your own retirement, drop a comment down below and please tell me. I read all the comments. And if you haven't seen episode 1 yet, we covered sequence of return risk, the thing that can sink a great retirement plan in just the first couple of years. It's worth watching right now after this. Like this video if it helped, and subscribe for a new episode every week, every Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm Rip, and I'll see all y'all on the next one.